Hey everybody, thank you so much for stopping by today. We thought it'd be really cool to share with you a little video of what we have growing in our garden, and we have a lot of different things happening, but since it's the middle of May and it's really the height of the spring season, we thought we could stop for a moment and share with you, even though we have a lot more videos coming that we would like to put together really soon about different containers that we have planned and also planting in the landscape. Let's take a moment and share with you a bit about what's happening in our garden. And let's start with this back bed back here. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. So many different things happening. And even though these plants, these actually beautiful annuals were planted about a month ago, they are really filling in and doing a wonderful job, just kind of creating a cheerful space in the backyard and also giving some contrast with our beautiful roses that we have going on here. And I'll talk about those in just a second. But the first thing that we noticed when we were looking from our house to the back corner is this beautiful David Austin rose, which is the Benjamin Britten variety. And it's one of my favorites. It does beautifully every year. It's probably the tallest rose that we have. And right now it's all about my height. But later in the season, when I cut off these, when I deadhead this, I'll take it about halfway down. It'll even grow taller and send out another bloom cycle. And it's absolutely beautiful. I love the color. It's kind of like a coral pink. And I think that coral pink, along with the two iceberg roses on both sides, looks really beautiful. These two roses are kind of like heading out of their bloom cycle. This is the vibrant pink variety of the iceberg, and this is the burgundy variety, and they were looking beautiful just a couple weeks ago. But still, they're kind of hanging on. I'm going to have to come through here soon, if not sooner, and deadhead those so it looks nice and tidy. One of my favorite things to do is come through and deadhead the roses immediately after, because it really does stimulate the growth to produce more blooms sooner than later. So those are beautiful. And then we have these beautiful gladiolas, white gladiolas that have been blooming just like for weeks actually. This side has been blooming first. I went ahead and deadheaded some of those, but we do still have some blooms. They're kind of leaning on the on the iceberg rose here, and that's fine. But this side is heading into a beautiful bloom show right now. And I love that contrast in height. It kind of starts in the middle with the tall David Austin right here, and then it kind of like pyramids down to the boxwoods on both sides. It gives it a really nice balanced look, all the while having the beautiful annuals down here on the bottom. And these pretty nice Bidens down here are just full of bees and pollinators throughout the day. And also the scaevola, the blue scaevola, is just filling in beautifully. And I think that it was a good choice. We haven't ever done these two varieties. I've never grown these before, but I definitely would recommend. And the way that it's filling in, just the cheerful color of the yellow alongside the really pretty purple down there is just so nice. So yeah, it's something that I would probably do again, and it's pretty easy to take care of. I ran drip to each one of their root balls, and I come through about every 2 weeks. I did it the first day that we planted. I have gone through and I fertilized one time since they've been here, and I think they're happy in their spot for sure. So that's this bed. The boxwoods are looking beautifully green as well. And I just always say, I love that evergreen structure along with the blooms. I mean, I love blooms in a lot of color, but just having that contrast is really, really nice. And it does kind of like set the framework for what's inside the garden. All right, let's take a look over here. And this bed right here is, I think, one of the most picture perfect raised beds that we've ever done before. This is all Ben. He's planted his three varieties actually of onion here. We have a purple onion, a white onion, and a brown onion in 3 different rows. When we came through and we recharged these beds with some land and sea compost and some new raised bed organic soil, he planted these on that first day, and that was a couple weeks ago, about a month and a week, I should say, about a month and a week. And they're doing great, growing beautifully. I mean, I am really happy with their growth. And they also planted some seed cells with some lettuce that is doing remarkably well right here and just about ready to harvest, probably in about a week or so from now. And then also a full bed of carrots, and we haven't done carrots in a long time, and we're really excited about that as well. And they are doing really nicely. I love the texture of all three of these different types of foliage. You have the fern-like texture of the carrots, along with the tall height of the beautiful onions right here, and then the really rich green romaine lettuce. And this is another variety that I'm not familiar with, but we planted one of those too, and so it's kind of cool to see because they all are just absolutely emerald green and looking great. It's almost to where you don't want to even pick these because it looks so nice, but we definitely will make use of what we have in here when they're ready. And then along the wall here, you probably notice we have our brand new super bells that we had planted in our little containers that we purchased from Walmart. And this is the last video that I had shared with you guys. And already they have probably grown by 1/4, even bigger, and they're all in bloom. In fact, some of the yellow last week when I planted these weren't even starting to bloom yet, but now they look absolutely beautiful. And I'm telling you, in a matter of time, they're going to be draping over these white containers. The white containers are nice, and I like the structure of them, but I'm not such a fan of the white color, which, you know, in my mind, as long as they're nice and sturdy, it doesn't matter what they look like, because these are going to be falling right over the side, draping over the side, and it's just going to be a large sphere of trailing color, the pink and the yellow. So super excited to see how those progress over time. If it was just this much in this short of time, it's probably going to be another month where it's about halfway down, and I'll share that with you when those come up. All right, so down here we have some miniature or small sized cucumbers that are getting ready to grow up on their little trellis teepee right here. And then we have a raised bed full of green beans along with some new lettuce. And what we're doing is we're trying to really kind of like alternate when we plant our lettuce. So these will be ready. We'll harvest these and use those. And then by the time we're done with these will be ready. So we'll always have a constant supply of lettuce throughout the next month or so, or maybe even month and a half. And we have some seed cells that been planted just today with some new varieties, and also some tomatoes and a couple different varieties of lettuce and peppers and things like that that are more apt to have a little bit more heat. And so it's that time of year, so we can't wait to see those come up and then plant them in the garden when all of these things are done producing. Okay, so, and more of those super bells. We have over here our boxwood with the super bells hanging over. This is the double yellow variety. Super pretty, loads of blooms. One of my favorites for sure, and they haven't disappointed at all. All right, we had to maneuver the camera a little bit, but I didn't want to overlook this beautiful red rose, which is an old variety. It's the Chrysler Imperial variety. And from my past garden tours, I've always commented on how the fragrance of this rose is unsurpassed. It's absolutely beautiful, and we really look forward to it every year. And it's a really nice contrast with all the pinks and the yellows, and it's been standing out and giving us a great show through this very beginning of its bloom cycle. And I think that its new spot right here is going to do it well, because we originally had it more over towards this area because our boxwoods were so big. But I think having it right here is going to be a perfect spot for it. And you can kind of smell the blooms when they open. When we open our slider, you can kind of smell the rose fragrance in the house, which is unbelievable. So if you haven't ever thought about a Chrysler Imperial rose, then you may want to try it, because you can find them pretty much anywhere, bare root, or also you can find them in containers at the beginning of the rose season, which is usually in spring. But beautiful rose, definitely a long history of having a great, beautiful bloom show. And then of course back here we have the boxwoods that are looking stronger than ever, filling in beautifully. But the real star of the show is the beautiful Stormburst Superbena from Proven Winners that we had planted underneath here about 3 weeks ago now, and it's taken off and looking great. I don't even have drip ran to each one. I come over here about every 2 days and give them a water. Eventually, when I get all of my containers set up on drip back here, it's going to be great, because then I won't have to worry about it. And I think they'll even do better because they'll have that constant water supply, and it'll be just right for them to do what they do best, which is fill out. I mean, they've already filled out a lot, and they haven't stopped blooming since we planted them in here. And it's really nice to see that light lavender down here on the bottom, along with the rose here, and then the containers that are all along the wall. I mean, it just looks so fantastic. So the next thing that I wanted to share with you is this beautiful Supertunia, which is the lovey-dovey variety from Proven Winners. It is one plant in about an 8-inch pot, and I've trimmed this back multiple times all the way up to the top of the pot. In fact, over the winter, it was looking pretty shabby, and so I just gave it some fertilizer, sprayed it with some Captain Jack's Dead Bug to keep the budworms away, and this is what it looks like. I mean, if you consider it's one plant with the 8-inch pot, planted in an 8-inch pot, it's almost completely covering the entire table, this is the table that I use to pot up my containers and things like that and film some of my videos. But when I'm not filming, I like to have something on here for color. And boy, is this an amazing show. It's in the sun probably for about 6+ hours in the morning, and then in the afternoon, like right now, it's shaded. And it just loves this spot. So this is a definite variety that has always performed really well. Considering the constant pruning back that I give it, it seems to have no effect on it, and it comes back stronger every time. So beautiful color, that really nice white bloom with, it's almost like a raspberry striping in there. So nice and so different. So many people ask us what this variety is on this yellow rose, and it's one of our favorites for sure. It's the sunflare variety. It's a floribunda rose, and on one stem you have this entire bloom head. Some of them are spent, some of them are still blooming, but it's just gone crazy this year. It's loving its spot here, which that's one thing that's really interesting to find out when you're gardening, is finding the right place for certain plants in your garden based on their sun requirements. I mean, I've had this rose for a long time, even before I was married, and it was in my parents' backyard, and it did pretty okay, but the spot that it was in, I don't think received the same sun as it does right here, and it never performed like this. But it seems like once we put it here, it's just gone crazy multiple times a year. I mean, it'll bloom like this, then we'll deadhead it, and then it'll bloom like this again. And so I'm not going to move it anywhere else because clearly it's happy right here. All right, so the last thing that I wanted to share with you today is the beautiful Super Bell's Yellow in a different situation. We have it with the boxwoods over on the other side of the garden, but this is in a 17-inch container, and it is glorious. I didn't have to trim this back at all over the winter because it was already growing so densely, and it looked super green, and it wasn't leggy at all, so I just kind of left it and then started to fertilize it once we got into the springtime, every 2 weeks with that water-soluble fertilizer, and this is what we've ended up with. An absolute beautiful show of yellow, and I definitely am a fan of those double yellow blooms. It almost looks like a double impatient or even like little rosettes, and when they do bloom, it just kind of fills this whole area with that really nice yellow color. It's a nice soft yellow, but it's not too strong of a presence in the garden, and it really accents well with any of the other colors that we plant, with lavenders, with pinks, with reds, with anything else that we plant. And so we really do appreciate having yellow blooming flowers in the garden, and my daughter loves it because she can look out her window right here and see this really nice cheerful container staring back at her as she opens her window. So we love it, and I think this is going to stay for a while. I don't see myself removing it anytime soon because it is performing beautifully, and I think it's only going to get better. I'm kind of interested to see how far it will grow or hang down. I had a container about a year ago that was over 3 feet long, and I didn't expect it to grow that way, but these things, if you take care of them right, will do that, and they will not disappoint in the garden for sure. But anyways, I think that's it for today. I know it was a real brief garden tour of what we have growing, but we wanted to take a moment and share with you. We have so many other things planned. But in the meantime, thank you guys for being here now, and we hope to see you very soon. Until then, bye-bye, everybody.